Here at home, you might have seen and heard ratepayers in different parts of the country complaining about the recent rate increases and about the quality, or the lack of quality, of services. In Westville and Durban, one ratepayers association says they won't pay their rates, even though they know that's illegal, because they're getting no services and haven't been consulted about the latest increases. In Joburg, some residents are now angry at how their rates are increasing because their properties have been revalued. It's part of a normal process which happens every few years, but it still puts a big increase as to what people have to actually do. Julius Kleynhans is the Social Innovation Executive for the organisation Undoing Tax Abuse. He joins us now. Also on the line with us, there's Piet Eloff. He's the Director for Valuations at the City of Joburg. It's his job to actually work out what your house is worth. Sort of. Well, let's start with Julius Kleynhans. Julius, good afternoon to you. What complaints are you receiving about this revaluation process? It does happen on a regular basis.
Afternoon, Stephen. Yeah, I think, you know, it happens every 4 to 5 years in a lot of municipalities. This year in the city of Johannesburg is an example. And, you know, we've got a variety of complaints. You know, firstly, a lot of the community members haven't received their notices, only received some of these notices after the valuation roll has been conducted. Look, I think the city has, to a large extent, promoted it in the public. People just don't know what it means. Even Outa, we try to facilitate good active citizenry and public participation. But I think the large amount to the shock is now when people are getting the bills. You know, a lot of these community members have objected. There's about 42,000 odd that have objected in valuation roll against the valuations that the city has applied. Now, Piet Eloff will most likely elaborate on how they do this, but, you know, what we believe is deemed not right and fair is the desktop method they use. You know, they don't value every property individually. There's 950,000 properties that they have to look through, and it's just not feasible. But they do apply the rates accordingly, and people have to fork out the money to pay for those rates, whether it's accurate or not. And the objection process is supposed to give people the opportunity to have an independent valuation on their property conducted and object against the city. But the big problem here, Stephen, is that the city doesn't afford people the opportunity to go through the motions of an objection process and thereafter pay the new rates, should it apply. You know, they just tell them that, listen, you have to pay the new rates, the new valuation, on top of that, which is exorbitant. I mean, some of these community members are paying, you know, well, the survey we've conducted is about 44% on average that the valuations on their properties have gone up. In these market conditions, look around you, how many people have money? We also believe that if you look at the property inflation rates, you know, just according to some research conducted, in the city of Joburg, it's actually declining in value. It's not necessarily increasing this year. So the city is applying rates increases annually that's above property inflation in the market. And then this is on top of it. And to give an example, I've received a query from one lady. She was used to paying 700 Rand a month on property rates last month. And now all of a sudden she's paying about 3,000 Rand additional. Who's got that money?
All right. So, Julius, I hear you. So your objection is not to the principle. You accept that, if I've got you correct, that rates must go up, that there must be a revaluation process. You're concerned about the mechanics of it and how it's done, and you suggest residents have not actually been given a fair shake in the process. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I think it's very important that, you know, services are rendered and inflation related, you know, and then obviously, like you've mentioned earlier, you need to get your bang for buck. You know, you need to get good services. But what is reasonable and what is fair? And this is where the city needs to become more customer-centric and be more fair and reasonable in that regard. It is a monopoly. Unfortunately, but they need to be more in tune with residents.
Okay, fine. I mean, as you say, over 900,000 properties, there's no way anyone could go and do that, go and sort of look at the value of each one. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to give that kind of money to real estate agents. Is there any other way you think this could be improved? There's an objection process, which, as far as I know, is being followed. I don't know what else the city could really do, is my point.
Yeah, look, I think the city should give the ratepayers the 2% increase, as they've indicated on the property rates. Then the valuation difference in increase, they need to conclude the objection process before they apply those new rates. That is, to me, reasonable and fair. So if you go through the motions and there's an appeal process, then you get to a conclusion which is accurate, because now the city puts the onus on me as the resident and the property owner to, at my own cost, get a valuer to object on this. Then it goes potentially into an appeal process where I need to again pay for someone to represent me against the city in that process. And I just don't think that's fair. So what actually makes sense is that property rates in general, the method should change, because you cannot have this spike every 5 years. It's unsustainable, and we're going to see soon. And maybe they should really look at the method and just apply normal inflation rates when it comes to property rates in general in the country.
Julius Kleynhans, thank you, the Social Innovation Executive at the organisation Undoing Tax Abuse.